Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We are here. I'm not sure where Bruce is, and I'm sporting one of Randall's machines behind me, the Frog, very much Kermit the Frog. Quite a lot has happened. Oh, under arrest. Now we shall find out. Here he comes. Why is it? Look, he's even put a green screen up in Randall's honor. That's fantastic.
Oh, it's gone now.
It's gone, yeah.
Oh, there it was. Contribution to the green movement.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll pack that away. Look, see how I slid that away. Quite a lot has happened this week, and I want to delay Randall talking just because then we'll have some viewers. So let's go through a few other.
You're an optimist, aren't you?
I am an optimist. That's right. It's very much so. Very much. And, you know, I was talking to Mark. Welcome back, Mark. Mark's been gallivanting all over the world, and now he's making lots and lots of light show drones. And hello to Stephen, who is flying by and going. What are you doing, Bruce? What are you doing?
Lighting. You know, John Ruprecht.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were protesting it. I thought that was a protest song or something. You know, here we go. He's got a sign here.
This is a bit dodgy. Bruce is the comedy essence of the evening. So.
Absolutely. Hello, Grey Arrows. Hello, SF. Hello, Cliff. Hello, everybody in the comments. What did I want to? Yeah, let's just show this video. Look, it's so slick. I'm so slick at this. I can't. The BBC will be calling me any moment. Where is that window? This one, just to get us going. Did we all see this week? Pretty miraculous in Bankstown in Australia.
This was incredible. This was a nice piece of flying, actually.
He nearly hit that hangar, though, didn't he?
He nearly hit it, and he landed. Yeah.
That's quite a thing, isn't it? It's quite a thing.
He was so close to the top of that.
Look how he controlled it at the end. That is as we say in Scottish, squeaky bum time.
Absolutely, and he didn't hit the pit special that was just off to the left of him there. That was very good, and then he's getting out for tier medal. So it was very good. We normally have a bit of the reason I wanted to start was that I normally have a bit of a pop at general aviation and the crewed aviation world, but yeah, that I thought was worthy and noteworthy. Very sad Spitfire going down in the UK over the weekend. That was sad.
Did you see the drone in the truck?
No.
You didn't see on
what
Twitter,
drone?
on X?
No.
Oh, it was great.
No, I didn't.
A big Anagras took off into the.
That one.
Big truck
yeah. That's been about for
What
a year.
one?
That has.
Has it?
That's been about for a year. That one. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's a situational awareness thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And pulled it up. Bang.
Takeoff location. There's so many things in that just make you just go, oh.
Yeah, I think you hear the remote saying the takeoff point has been obliterated.
It's now 40 feet that way or something like that. You know, it's a quick one. As we went to air, the Skydio X10D that made it to the blue list. Another one that I thought was sad. I felt sorry for this lot. They seem to have been plodding along, and they went bankrupt, perhaps because they were too quiet about everything, which is unusual for drone companies, isn't it? But anyway,
I think actually, Eddie, I don't quite understand how they went bankrupt, because apparently they had an agreement, or they had a contract with Foodora, which is the Swedish food delivery company, but much like Uber or let's say drone or let's say DoorDash that you have in other companies.
Right.
But they did have an agreement with Foodora to do drone deliveries in Sweden. And so I don't quite understand or know why they have been allowed to go. But I've been hearing things along the way that they concentrated too much on the business side and not on the regulation side. I don't know if that's
Right.
true or not, or whatnot, but it's a shame to any company that goes down in the drone industry is a bad thing. I don't care how much you agree with what they do or whatever. I hate to see any drone company go down in this this climate because it's bad for us all.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Randall, I mean, how do you see this on Randall? When you see companies go down like this.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was banned from speaking, so I will. I will talk completely away from my personal project. I was in drone delivery. I do understand it. I think it's really hard to come by money in drone delivery, even when you have large customers like Walmart for Drone Up or UPS and FedEx at Workhorse. Big name companies, like a contract doesn't mean you're making money on that contract. A contract doesn't mean that they'll throw you a life preserver if you are struggling. And drone delivery just hasn't shown. Beyond visual line of sight. It's almost necessary. Autonomous flight is almost a necessity for the long term of drone delivery. And so I don't know what the regulatory environment looks like in Sweden or Scandinavia or Europe very well, but I know that if anywhere we're going to see succeeding drone delivery, I think it's going to be ship to shore type stuff, island to island type stuff in Southeast Asia, where the regulatory environment's pretty easy, or Middle East, where the regulatory environment changes due to who's asking for the permission, and if the permission is being asked for by wealthy or royal members, then they get it done. So I think that drone delivery it's really early for that space. And so, yeah, it's bad for everyone. The problem is that these guys could have maybe went to be part of the roll-up movement that happens within drones and find someone to buy their technology. Who knows if they search that avenue, because an acquisition would have sounded a lot better than bankruptcy. But those assets are just really hard to sell, and I do have firsthand experience in that.
Yeah.
Russia and Ukraine got a handle on drone deliveries, though, haven't they?
Who?
They have.
Russia and Ukraine. They've worked out the fine details of drone delivery.
Yeah, correct, but they're also not working out the hardening of their drone delivery. So they're worried about others hijacking signals and things like that. And so they're using drone delivery, but there is an opportunity there for those that can harden without drastically implicating the cost of those units to be out of reach. And I think whoever plays that game, if there's folks that, well, I know like Atlas Dynamics, a tricopter manufacturer in Latvia, was very pro the concept of doing that. The founder is a former Israeli military, and he's an Israeli citizen as well as a Ukrainian citizen. And so he, as a drone manufacturer, is really doing a lot to work hand in hand with them to work out battle hardening radios as well as dropping capabilities. But I also think, and I don't know if you talked about this before, Teal coming out and saying very aggressively, we are looking to create loitering munitions as a drone manufacturer. That's like is that good for the drone space, for our interests, that we're now recomplicating the word drone to being something that is malice, where we spent a lot of years showing people what a phantom looks like, to have people change that definition of drone for the better.
But I think this all comes down to the social acceptance of what's happening with drones, and of course, every country is different. Every country has its own, let's say, perception on how the press is done, and just to give you, let's say an example. I'm here in Finland, so I'm, we do, let's say drone operations I wouldn't say mainly from Finland, but we are based in Finland, and our let's say social acceptance is quite high compared to other countries, because we are, let's say, a technology, let's say country here in Finland. But this is the home of Nokia. This is the home of Angry Birds. This is the home of let's say Clash of Clans, where they have technology. But no, I mean, you may be laughing at that, but
No,
this
I
is-
understand what you're saying.
yeah, but this is where technology has come from after Nokia. So let's say instead of Nokia, which obviously went down because Apple went up and when jobs were lost, everyone just went and said, okay, we'll do something else. And it's like, yeah, and things happen very, very quickly because obviously when Nokia went down here, it seemed like this was the end of the financial sector of Finland, but that wasn't the case. Things moved very, very quickly, and then you had this movement. So the Finns are very acceptable of change. So when we do all these drone projects here in Finland, we don't get complaints, because there's a lot of surveys that go out to the public to say, what have you done? Have you accepted this? Do you think this is okay? What do you think of this? Blah, blah, blah. And usually it's like 70, 75%, 80% of the public go, yeah, it's cool, it's great. And so, but every country is different, so you may get complainers, the moaners, or as they say, the Karens of the world. But here, this is a great place to do drone operations here in Finland because we get this positive aspect of it in a sense, So, but yeah, it's interesting to see how, and when I obviously, I talked to Mark and how things are in the UK, and he complains about how things are done there and how people complain about this, blah blah blah. We get that very rarely here. It doesn't happen that often. People don't complain very much. They go, "There's a drone in the sky. Oh, drone, yeah, cool, yeah," and that's old people, So, I'm not,
Well, but what I wanted to almost kick back a couple of comments ago is Randall's assertion of the sort of new military use case, and Brink. Blake was going to be on, but he's had to travel. He's going to be on next week. In the launch of this new machine, he said they are not interested in weaponizing their gear, which no offense, I thought that was one of the most interesting takeaways from that to actually make that statement in their presentation. This is an interesting thing, the drone in a box solution for drones as first responders, and they make a compelling case for it. But we'll come back when he comes on next week. We'll talk that up a little bit more. Where do you want to go? I want to go here now. One sent from Brucey. I didn't actually see this yesterday from the Aviationist. Have we actually seen if there's any damage genuinely to an aircraft or
they claim
drone?
there's some damage. They noticed claim after landing.
Yeah.
But my takeaway from this is the Air Force fighter pilots have much worse vision than airline pilots.
Absolutely.
He didn't see it. He didn't even know he'd hit it until after the post-landing inspection. But airline pilots can see the damn things a mile away, so they need to get different eyewear or something. I thought fighter pilots would be more situationally aware than an airline pilot, but apparently not.
Well, nose up, finals to land in that thing. You're not seeing much over the front, and they'll be looking for clues to the side of the runway and things like that. So, yeah, if it was...
But yet again, nobody died. No injuries. We're told drones hit airplanes, people die. And again, every data point proves the opposite.
Yeah, so it would seem. Let's start heading towards Randall's moment now. Let's start heading that way by first going to this one, which is Canada's ordered Bluevec to close down. They're a counter-UAS company, and the government there has said, no, thank you. Please stop trading. So it'll be very interesting to eventually find out that this is the full extent of the Canadian government's PR on it.
Is that because they've got electronic countermeasures that are in breach of the radio spectrum guidelines or rules? I would think so.
Could be. It could be, couldn't it? Yeah.
Selling an illegal product, basically.
Yeah. Something that you cannot use. If you switch it on to shoot something down, then then yeah, it is very naughty. And I forgot which one, but one of the counter-US companies is lobbying to start to be able to integrate lasers into their gear now. And that will open a real can of worms, won't it? If we have some sort of shoot down capability of either friend or foe. Hopefully not friend.
So you can't.
I've been shot down. I've been shot down many times. I mean, I've been at the end of counter drone let's say equipment several times during, let's say, serious drone operations when I let's say when I shouldn't have been shot down, but or let's say let's say many of my drones have been shot down. Let's say when I've been doing a drone light show and I've been shot down, and it's not funny. It's even when you have drones that should be getting shot down, but if your drones that are in a, let's say, in a different area, and you're still in that spectrum where you're going to you'll be affected. I've been there, and it's not funny at all. It's not funny. I mean, I think that these, let's say, these weapons, they are useful, but they don't have any limitation. And whether you are doing, whether there's someone who shouldn't be there and someone who should be there, there's no differentiate. If you're in the area, that's it. And I've been there, and it's not funny. It's not
the best. No, I think the police are investigating. Do you remember we had the laser from the security guard at Stonehenge we spoke about last week? I believe the police are investigating that one. So we'll see.
Actually, I pushed that to someone at the CAA. I have an insider there, and I pushed it to that person. And even though that even though the CAA had been reported that they should have known, but this other person at the CAA had no knowledge of it whatsoever. So I think that is another story. As well, and it just shows you how let's say information doesn't travel as it should do.
Absolutely. And then there was here it is. This one, that's Stephanie, whatever she's called, Congresswoman, and this is to have a little pop at I've forgotten the name of Drone Advocacy Alliance, who DJI does pay for the website. But it is amazing that this office that's got a Skydio worker on it is working so hard. So very, very, very hard, or ex-Skydio person or something like that in there.
I was looking. I was actually looking at the story today, and that's something which I would like to ask Randall about. What does he, what's his opinion on this, and what does he know about, or does he know? Because any of these, let's say, associations. I'm part of the European Drone Association, or actually JEDA, and we don't have any association with any drone manufacturer or whatever. We don't have any sponsorship, or no one pays us or whatever. It's purely voluntary. What's your opinion on this regarding, what this company's doing, or what this association's doing, and what they represent, and what they're supposed to be doing? I'd be interested to know what you think about this.
I can say that I've known more about this organization in different parts of my career. And so while I was at FLIR, there was a thing called the DAN, which was the Drone Advocacy Network or something like that. So this could be a morphed version of that, which was touted by DJI, looking for folks to basically sign a petition being like, we support this. Now, I don't know the four of you well enough to know all of your backgrounds and how you make money with drones. Like, we have not even discussed that. Maybe everyone that comes and joins you on a weekly basis knows what your financial ties in with drone use is. But what I will say is that in the United States, where this alliance exists, is that there are thousands of people, whether drone service providers, drone manufacturers, drone software developers, that are tied specifically to the manufacturing of low-cost, high-functioning drones. And if those drones go away, or if there's increased pressure, increased legislation against those drones, their jobs become either much more difficult or not worth doing anymore, and they go do something else. So,
Gary, I spoke to you about this, or I actually made a video about this very subject and how much that this is going to affect the industry as a whole, not just, let's say, drone operators, but the software companies, the all the hardware, all the extras, everything, the whole, let's say, network of this affects everyone. This affects everyone. Right. It's not just a hobbyist. It's not just that one drone operator who's making maps for whoever. It's the whole industry, and even us in Europe. So let's just say us in Europe right now, and I'm quite vocal about this. That you have Drone Deploy who are based in the who are based in the US. This affects them. So because all of their work that comes in comes from DJI drones, and if nobody can do that anymore, it's going to massively affect them, which in turn at some point will affect us. This has a huge effect on everyone, let's say globally. So this is not a US thing. It affects us globally.
Right. Well, so I mean, Andrew Robotics isn't even part of this discussion yet, but just keep in mind why I would be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
As I finish this thought, that the Drone Advocacy Alliance, I don't know the mandate, but if you're a manufacturer and you're saying, look, we have a lot of proud customers that like using our stuff, and we encourage you to go talk to your lawmakers and tell them that you want to use this stuff, and tell them how you feel, and tell them what it would do to your livelihood or your communities if legislation prohibits you from using these things. That, as a manufacturer of drone technology, makes sense. But if you are a Chinese or an international in the United States, an international manufacturer, you now need to register yourself as a lobbyist group to be able to do something like that. That's what I was told. So last Thursday, I was on a call with a staffer for Congresswoman Stefanik, and it was a pleasant call. And I would think that I brought the pleasantries, as I generally do, but it's all about getting to know each other, dispelling any sort of rumors, whatever. There's people's minds are made up on a lot of things, and so I didn't go into that with any notion that I would change those minds. But I didn't even know this article or this push for the DAA stuff existed. And I asked towards the end of the call, when she said, do you have any other questions? I said, look, if I want to correctly do this sort of thing, where as a manufacturer, I'm like, look, we just want people to participate in their civic duty in the United States to tell their congresspeople who are elected officials what they want to see done. Is there any issue? And she said, well, you as a US-based company, you have every right to do it. But a foreign entity would have to register as a lobbyist group. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because I didn't know this even existed. But as rational human beings, I would say, I don't have a problem with saying, hey, sign up, put your name here with your organization and say you like my stuff. That seems very harmless, but I guess that's the kind of stuff that legislators in the United States really want to harp on. And if that keeps public safety agencies from piping up on don't take away our drones or else you're damaging our ability to protect communities, I think that's an unfortunate turning a blind eye to the realities.
Well, I think the reality, and let's not go to public safety and saving lives, but it's all about money. This comes down to money and people's livelihoods, and not only that, but the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And let's not beat about the bush. I mean, I've seen all this and read all this about public safety and how saving lives and blah blah blah. But this is people's livelihoods. This is money. This is revenue for companies, and this is the industry as a whole, and not just, and as I say, not just the US, but this is also globally, because yes, this does mainly affect the US, but this will have a ripple effect on the rest of the world, especially Europe, especially Asia as well, and and it doesn't look good. It isn't a good. I'm sure there are many people who are looking at this going, "Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm in France.
Yeah.
I can sit back and go, I don't care about this." No, this does affect us all, and I'm not comfortable with it at all, because the more I see this happening, that this ban is coming in, and how much this affects you and everyone else, it will eventually come back and affect me. And that affects my salary. It affects my ability to feed my family and all the rest of it and pay my bills. And I don't like it. I really don't like it at all. I'm not comfortable with it because it does affect everyone.
Let me just jump to I'm muted, aren't I? Let me just jump to here, because Randall's off the back of the most successful marketing campaign he's ever been able to manage, I should imagine, with getting mentioned in these big posh papers. That must have got the telephone ringing for you, Randall, didn't it?
I would say when the New York Times approaches you to do an article, not many people are prepared for that moment. Not a lot of people are trained for that moment. Not a lot of people know what it entails to do this. I didn't know whether I was going to be a line in a long story or if I was going to be a story. I didn't pre-read it. I didn't pre-select the things that would be said. Kate, who wrote the article, is someone that I consider friendly, and friendly meaning like the relationship we built over time was great. I don't love a lot of the way that the picture was painted, because it's someone from outside of the industry, not knowing some of the nuances. I think very heavily highlighting that I am a sole person working for a company. It's like, well, usually before you start shipping products, you don't need after sales people. There's a lot of people involved, from contract manufacturing to 3PL for our logistics. Like there's people getting paid. They're just not employees, because we don't need that overhead until we get to a certain point. So I think that was all very unfortunate. But as far as you're talking about phones ringing, like, not really, because the people that are reading the New York Times aren't necessarily the people buying drones, which goes back to something I've said on this show multiple times in the 2 times I've been here, which is educating people is so difficult. And this was a way, an avenue to educate a lot of people that are not the folks that are going to hear my voice on SUAS News. These are people that are not thinking about drones every day. And so they see a green drone and some guy standing next to some mountains, and they're like, okay, what's this story about? I haven't looked at the comments much. I looked at them one time on Friday, the day the story launched. I'd be interested to look at them again. But I wish that the story in my world, in our world as drone interested people, would tell that what is happening here is not subversion of legislation. It's not about really legislation at all. It's about continuing to support the large number of folks that their livelihoods are driven by the application of uncrewed technologies. And I think that it raised some awareness, but I'm worried about the things that might be underscored and the things that might be glossed over as it pertains to this story.
Oh, there's one. Shut this company down. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones, which is like, shut us down first as like a preliminary action as a U.S. company with a U.S. ownership, blah, 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 before DJI bans even happen. Like, some people are jumping the guns for sure.
I think a lot of this, you're not going to like this comment, Randall, but a lot of this is American exceptionalism. I think people really believed that America was a world leader in the drone world like 30 years ago. And I'm sorry to tell you, as a nation, you never were.
No, 100%. And I think that American sensationalism exists. And like me as an American, I watch the athletes compete in Paris this summer, and I'm cheering for my guys, and I'm doing the whole USA chanting and all of that stuff, because that's what patriotism is for Americans, and maybe isn't the case everywhere, but I feel that sense of pride. But when you have an administration like the FAA that is so heavily leaning onto safety of the national air system, to the point that they're prohibiting growth in autonomous flights or beyond visual line of sight flights. When you see countries like China, countries like India and elsewhere exceed the use capabilities, exceed the use cases, and prove out the technology, Made in India, the Made in India program has created a huge opportunity in India. Now, those drones don't do very well outside of India, and a lot of manufacturers now can't get into India. So there's 2 billion people that can't be served by some of the best technologies in the world. But that was a choice. And India, as a country with a lot of infrastructural challenges, big country, different languages, they're solving those problems with drones, in which the United States kind of wants to go back to the dark ages and make democratize the skies by eliminating drone use.
Yeah, I think the airspace arguments are growing old now and getting harder and harder to prove, because as Bruce will continue to say, where's the blood, where's the accidents? And so best we look to another place to try and pull the rug from under this and try and catch up, I suppose. But look, so that was that New York Times article. And just before we came to a couple of hours ago, the results of your test by White Knight Labs came out. So it's on I'll put the link to this in there. Maybe you want to talk to us about that, and then we'll see if Kevin's in the comments.
For sure. So we make claims about data security, and there's no way to validate that without having a third party that has no vested interest in this to do that work and penetrate tests. Now, Kevin and his guys have done more drone fondling than most, and I respect them, but that's just not the route that we went here. I did not personally select White Knight. It was a line of suggestions of possibilities, and we just chose one. I don't know them personally. I have not talked to anyone at White Knight. This was all facilitated through Aloft, but basically White Knight came back and said endpoints point data where it's supposed to go. We weren't able to extract data in flight or at rest. We weren't able to divert data. For us to get to the point of shipping, that was necessary. We believe we've done a good thing by doing a penetration test at the scale that we did it. Is it going to suffice for every single organization's cybersecurity or IT needs? No. Most organizations that do have those needs have cybersecurity or IT people that can do their own testing and own work on the penetration test. But so Aloft put out their blog post that announced that we had a successful result, but we're going to publish the actual results hopefully later this week. That will show the White Knight letterhead saying all of this stuff. But that became much more of a conversation than I thought it would be. But I'm not in that arm wrestle. I'm here talking to you guys.
Here he is. I knew we could tempt him out. I knew it.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Over to you, Randall.
Yeah, I mean, responding to Kevin is one of my favorite things to do in all the facets and mediums that I get to do it. Kevin knows I respect him. We get along great. He has every reason to be critical of drones, whether they're my drones, DJI drones, Autel drones, anyone's drones. So I have no issues with Kevin's critique, but I also can't say I understand it because it's not my world. And I can also say if it doesn't preclude me from having a certain number of customers, and if they don't need it to be more in depth, then I can't please everyone. I'm not trying to please everyone. Doing what I can in the capabilities and the time frame that I have. So that's kind of my response, and I think Kevin knows that. But yeah, I can't say whether it was good, not good, the depth, whether it's conclusive. I don't know those things.
That's a fair and honest answer. So have you aged a little bit in the last month or so?
I feel like yes. I actually would open the conversation with being like, I feel like I've aged substantially. But if people spent time with me, you've probably spent as much time as anybody with me over the last few months. Like, the amount of work I'm putting in is like, I'm trying to do a good thing. I'm trying to listen to the feedback, Kevin's and Conrad's and yours and the customers, to try to evolve this thing to the point where we've actually solved the problem. The DJI problem, and a problem.
Randall, this is not an easy industry to be in, as you know.
Yeah.
And I know what you've been through over the past few years. I have followed your career. I don't know if you know what I've been through or what you've been through, but I certainly know what you've been through, and I know what I've been through over this, and this is not. I mean, even though this industry, as I've said many times, this industry hasn't really started yet. It's just started, and we're just getting to the point where, this is a sector. This is an industry, and there's people out there that are making money doing what they do. It's still tough. It's still difficult. It's stressful. It's not easy. And I really want you to be successful here. We need you to be successful here because, I feel for you. I really do feel for you. Because this is a tough time for everyone, and obviously within the US, people are having, people are worried about their livelihoods and all the rest of it, and stuff. And this drone or these two drones that you have could be the lifesaver that could give them, let's say a future, and there are people that are breathing down your neck in order to say that this might not be the case and stuff, but it needs to work. And I really, even though I'm in Europe and this doesn't affect me as such, you have my support, and I really hope it works for you. I really do.
Yeah, well, what I would say is that right here is my CEO placard from when I was at Autel. This is a award I got at FLIR. Here is a DJI Phantom 1 that started my whole career in this thing. This is a podcast thing I did with all 5 Blue UAS CEOs years ago. Like, I've been in this space trying to do good things. I would not trade this journey right now, this one I'm on, for anything. I don't think I am the best. I don't think I am special. I don't think I'm smart enough to do all the things people want me to do, but I know damn well that I give a shit, and I'm trying my best to implement things that are possible. And a lot of things people ask for, not possible. Like, that's just reality, either time, resources, or just not possible. But this journey, like everything that comes out, Conrad and Kevin's report, like, I don't hate on that report. Do that work. Everyone should be doing the work. The congresswoman that's putting stuff out, do that work. You have every right to question what I'm doing. As long as you allow me as a human being and us as an organization to evolve, we're trying to solve problems that are your problems. The people we're talking about whose livelihoods are tied up into this, it's not anything but that. It's just you caught me on a 5 weeks into a company, and everyone expects me to have fully matured it and sorted everything out, and I just can say that's unrealistic.
And of course, being 5 weeks in, and you're the employee, you were Employee of the Month last year, so you can last week. Sorry, last month you were Employee of the Month.
Over the last month.
So you can put that certificate of the Employee of the Month. Definitely. What I was thinking, you might not like what I'm going to say now, but what I'm thinking in my own head as you're chatting there is, you've put yourself in a position where, let's say, an American startup with a product is getting there with something. If this doesn't particularly work out for you in the way that you hope it's going to, Anzu Robotics as a name is now a name in the US. It's been in the New York Times, and if somebody, an American, was to bring an American product to you with all the suitable stuff in it, it would strike me Anzu Robotics would be a great company to market that thing now. So that's just an aside. I'm thinking aloud.
And the roadmap for us the future for us is an evolution. It could be a lot of different things. It could mean a lot of different things. What I wondered when reading that New York Times article is that if name your Fortune 500 company licensed technology from DJI and built this and released it in 14 months from inception and did the same penetration test and went through the same processes, same things, would they be just kind of given a pass? Because honestly, probably the harping, the New York Times thing pointing out me as a sole employee, like I read it, I'm like, yeah, duh. Like that's a good business decision. If I would have packed a bunch of people waiting around for this thing to take off, they would have been sitting around for no reason. I just made a good business decision.
But isn't that the American? Aren't you in the American dream there, though? Isn't that, you know, the American dream all the way?
What did I do wrong? What have I done wrong? I've made decisions that maybe other people could criticize, but I have just functioned as a normal decision-making business entrepreneur, and it's really difficult to navigate that as an organization with kind of I have 10 years pedigree doing this stuff. I've always tried to do the right things. The blue UAS guys that are above my head, like I'm probably the only one with all of the competitors that are trying to make US drones be like the only thing still on my wall. You have them as well, or you're maybe pointing to someone else? Either way, I haven't changed my stance in anything that I've talked about. The blue and green UAS thing I did last year with Michael Robbins and the DIU, I was saying the same things about Chinese bans and same thing about blue and green programs and the critiques on them. I think that there's places for all of this, but I haven't changed. And I think that that's like me, don't like me, like what I'm trying to do, don't like what I'm trying to do. Already have your mind made up, great, but I'm willing to hear feedback and evolve. And I think that that should be one thing that's appreciated regardless.
My comment here, I mean, you're talking about penetration tests. Has the Mavic 3 Enterprise or Mavic 3 Enterprise Thermal, have they failed any of the penetration tests?
So I know Kevin posted something about this, and he could cite it more. But there was I want to say Booz Allen, but I know that's wrong. But there's a big defense prime that does penetration tests. And for us as a small manufacturer, the cost of having them do it was literally 10x. So it was like, we could have a big name say the same thing, but is it worth spending that kind of money when we don't? All we're trying to say is we changed the endpoints, data's not going off. We feel pretty good about that. I think that Kevin's mantra is that NASA did stuff, didn't count. Department of Interior did stuff, didn't count. Not Booz Allen, but whoever did this other one, they did it, but they did it wrong. And I can't speak to any of that. What I do know is that most manufacturers, if you go to Skydio or Parrot's website and you put in penetration test results, you're probably not getting one.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't feel.
I mean, forgive my ignorance here, but what is the problem if there's no penetration tests in order to say that these drones are failing or have an issue? Because it seems to be all talk that these are bad drones, but I see nothing to say. Now, let's say that I know I've seen Kevin's post about what's happened in the past 5 years ago and stuff, but I'm talking about drones now. I'm talking about, let's just say the Mavic 3 Enterprise and Mavic 3 Thermal. Okay, so those are the Enterprise drones. I've seen no evidence to support that a penetration test says that these are bad drones.
There's also what Kevin would say is there's no evidence to show that they've given the right amount of disclosure or the right amount of access to prove that. There are things that are hidden or things that can't be accessed, where the concern would be, is there something in that layer that someday something gets turned on, something changes, and now you have that vulnerability. You have to be, if you're in Kevin's position, an eternal pessimist. You have to believe that someone is up to no good, or else you're bad at your job, because you could just say face value, I don't think they're up to no good. So I value that there are people that have that position and have to take that position. But when we're talking about whose butt cheeks were in the seat when they coded any drone, I don't personally care if the guy's name is John or Jing. I don't care personally. I don't think that there is one that is more inherently trying to make something bad happen than others. What I do think is that you can prove as much as you can prove through a penetration test, and that's what we've achieved. Can we prove everything? No. Yeah, and Kevin saying I nailed something is like I would rather that than a New York Times article.
No, you need that on the wall behind you. You can you can put on a little frame and everything.
Honestly,
now,
Kevin, you can send me a screenshot of
I
that.
want to hear Bruce's take on this part of the business, because he'll come, believe it or not, he'll arrive with some wisdom. And how do you see the way around this? Where's your sense of trust and security and things like that, Bruce?
Well, I just look at what the USA is doing elsewhere. They want to put levies on EVs, Chinese EVs. It's a trade war. We've got a trade war going on, and so many deceptions are passed on the basis of safety and security. We know this, and anyone that's got anything to do with drones, safety and security is the universal thing that a label you apply to something when you want to do something without having to explain the reality of it. And the thing that amazes me is they want to put increasing tariffs on some of these things. We're going to increase tariffs with electric vehicles and in some cases drone technology, because apparently if you put a tariff on something, suddenly it becomes secure. If you pay the government a percentage of the price, it's now a secure product. But if you don't pay an express levy, well, then it's a threat to national security. These people are so transparent. It beggars belief. The USA has fallen way behind in the drone race. They realize they can't innovate their way back to the top, so they're going to regulate and legislate their way back to the top by basically putting up trade barriers. It's not going to work. You're sure American companies will sell more, but it's not going to improve your ability to innovate because you're removing the competition that drives innovation.
I think that the US has got way many issues to worry about when it comes to technology, because when it comes to regulation, for example, BV laws and all the rest of it, I think that they fall well. It's talking with other, let's say, professionals in this industry who are working, and I've never worked in the US, so I've never done I've never done business, I've never done any flying in the US. I've done flying pretty much everywhere else in the world apart from the US, so I have no experience of that. And so, but it seems that others are saying that the US is well far behind, even far behind than, let's say, Europe as well. So, but it seems that what they're doing now, even with this ban, is just is making things even worse for them.
I'm jumping in on you there, Stephen, but in my experience, having run this gig since 2008, there's just this continual shuffling of chairs. They seem very, very good at shuffling chairs. New people get in charge of stuff. They want to, sweep away the rubbish that the last person did, because what we're going to do is going to be brilliant. And then they start down a road, and Bruce will probably say this is the same. It probably is the same of every industry. Then tick, 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 4 or 5 years go by, swap all the chairs around, let's reinvent the wheel yet again. And they seem to have been in this perpetual loop of doing that. And it's a very great shame. Now, what I did want to bring in a point that Louis made about this one here. So are you getting the ISO 27001?
This is already done.
It's already done. Okay, all right. So that's cleared that away for Louis.
Can I say one very weird thing? Well, two things. First thing I'm going to say is in 10 minutes I have a meeting that just popped up that I'm doing a training for one of our partners, so I have to jump in 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, we'll be gone in 10 as well. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
So I was told by White Knight Labs that our drones do a thing, and it validated what I wanted to hear, right? And Kevin, a guy that has spent a long time doing what he does, says, no, it's not good enough, right? Congresswoman Stefanik is advised by somebody that says, hey, DJI drones are causing an issue. And then I come in being like, hey, they're fine. I'm fine. What I'm doing is fine. You can trust me. I'm an American guy. You can arrest me. You could put me in prison for a long time if I am stealing data and selling it to the Chinese government. Like, I am doing everything by the book. And it doesn't yet. I'll be under arrest. It doesn't matter. And so when I think about the other people involved, there's a lot of like, you know, is it lobbying money? Is it just like trying to get something, a quiver or a feather to put in their cap and say, look at the thing I did? But honestly, I just think it's who informs them, and they don't have time to listen to the experts in the same way that I love Kevin. I love him. Great guy. We have phone conversations. We agree. He can beef online, and I will continue to respect and, you know, chime in where it's appropriate and not chime in when I have nothing really to say. But Kevin, I'm not discounting his expertise in the same way that the Congresswoman is maybe not discounting mine. It is that you just don't have time. You don't have time to look into everything and to have scrutiny to the point of proving everything. Sometimes you have to go with the information you have, and sometimes you've already made the case to yourself that you don't want to hear anything contradictory, which is why I reached out to you, Gary, in the first place. When the FCC leak happened, I was like, we should talk about this. Because before you already think it's a shell company and these guys are trying to subvert and hide something, I was like, let me tell you the story where we're at. So you don't go down that road, and it'll be harder for me to convince you otherwise, or to share things that you haven't, that go against what you've already kind of proven to yourself.
I
don't blame anybody. We're human beings running around trying to solve problems, and then we die, and then it's up to someone else to solve. So
it's on a happy note.
And I just think that human element gets missed when it's New York Times articles and computer trolls and other ways that people communicate with each other. It's like my respect is still intact with a congresswoman that wants to shut me down because I'm a DJI shell company. It still exists because I have not done enough to give her reason to not want that.
Will you ever be able to do enough?
I don't know. That's why this was a gamble, is we license this technology, and I would assume a DJI ban comes before an Anzu ban. I would think we have some lifeline, but do they legislate me out specifically? License from DJI? I don't know.
Wait until people start losing their jobs and the unemployment rate rises ever so slightly. Hopefully at that point they might start to think that, you know, maybe we didn't do the right thing. I don't know. I don't know.
You mentioned it yourself with that drone delivery company that's based in where? Denmark, or is it Swedish? I didn't know where they were.
Sweden.
Okay, so a Swedish drone delivery company of, 10, 15, 30 people. We're like, oh shoot, that's unfortunate. But when we're talking about companies shutting down with much higher visibility than that in one specific country because of legislation like is being proposed, I don't know the process of pulling that back and being like, psych, we didn't mean it. So instead, bet on the Malaysian manufacturing American guy if you want to hedge a little bit, because I would rather live as a legislator, rather live in a world with that than the world where people are losing their jobs and I have to attest to it.
Yeah.
It's brave stuff, and I thank you. I really thank you, Randall, for preparing to put it on the line and tell us what's what. I mean, it's very cool. I know the New York Times even reached out to Ian. He's hiding obviously tonight, and asked him questions about what you thought. So they did look around a little bit, which is quite interesting. And no doubt.
But when Ian doesn't appear on the show, I get worried.
Yeah. There's reason, because you know what he's doing. He's in a dodgy hotel drinking cheap beer. That's what it is. That's what it is when he's not here. That's what it is. Look,
I do worry for his safety. I worry for his safety. I worry that someone hasn't got him.
Yeah, he did put out. Oh, hello. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah. And as if by magic,
The devil, man.
look, Randall, if you've got to go to your next meeting, I mean, we'd love you to stick around, but please, go just drop out and go to your next meeting because
when
Ian's
it gets
here
to the
now.
top of the hour. Oh no! Since Ian's here, I'm more inclined to stay and just blow off the next meeting. However, in 5 minutes, whatever, even if I'm mid sentence, I'm just going to drop out and go
right,
do my business. Ian, good seeing you.
All right. Well, thanks very much for as I say. I'll thank you now then, and you can scuttle off as required. As required. Thank you, Randall. We'll speak again.
Ian, blink 3 times if you're okay.
Yes. Hold up a copy of today's newspaper. What can we actually say, or can't we say about current goings on?
We could probably say that there's been legal, and I think it's run its course. I've requested for what's a withdrawal I put 2 contempt of court cases in against the Chief Constable of Sussex Police because evidence wasn't provided for 2 freedom of information requests which went through the tribunal process, and a judge instructed that those should be provided. So one wasn't provided at all, and the other, there was an answer provided, but it wasn't really an answer to my question. So that's why that started. However, once I did the escalation, now I didn't realize there was, because I'm not Beeford, but very few people ever have to go through this rigmarole with the freedom of information. That I think there is another process I could have gone through, and I didn't realize. I was speaking to a mate as a journalist, and he knows a bit about law, so I wanted his advice, and he says, "You do realize you've done the nuclear option?" I went, "No, I didn't actually."
Oops.
I just did what I thought you had to do. So yeah. So I got the information on one freedom of information provided in full, and we'll probably go on that show more another day, but it does suggest that Chris Woodruff, who was running Gatwick Airport, was getting slightly carried away in things he said on camera. And we'll go in that another time, because you need to see the time, and you need to see the video clip and understand the context of it. And I say the other freedom of information hasn't been answered. So I'm still going to withdraw the cases, because Sussex Police are saying, we interpret your question this way. Basically, we'll be arguing over the English language about what the word rent means. And it's not even a good use of the public purse to be taking judges' time and trying to argue the meaning of a word in court. So I'll just kind of take that to the ICO as a separate.
The other one, the other word that springs to mind was night, wasn't it? That's the actual definition. Was it night? I can't even remember now.
It was morning, wasn't it? That
morning. That's right. It was morning. Quite like night, but different.
Yes. The other freedom of information was it was a fight over the word morning. Morning.
Yes. it's been a wild ride, really, and yeah, well, I won't say anymore because it could get wilder. Yeah, but we've taken advice, or you've taken advice, haven't you, Ian? You've taken advice.
Yeah, and, I mean, I spoke to Richard Ryan, and
morning of freedom, just that morning. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's the one. That's the very one. Yeah, we're a minute and a half to go to the 1 hour. Have we seen Randall? Thank you very much. Safari and Jima, as we say locally. We'll speak to you again. Take care, mate.
Thanks, Randall.
Well, thank goodness he's gone. No, he's got a mountain to climb, hasn't he? He's definitely got a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And hope.
I feel his pain. I do feel his pain, and you know, he has to succeed here. He and I think that the more kind of say shit that keeps coming through, he needs support, and I don't know what kind of support he has there, but this is not an easy time in the industry. It isn't an easy time for anyone in the industry. It's tough for so yeah.
Well, let's see what happens if there's peace in Ukraine, and or when they win, I should say. And
True,
I think the industry is going to change quite dramatically. Then we're suddenly going to have a glut of very professional builders of things, and let's hope they start making stuff for the military.
But I mean, you see this thing in the news this week as well that Poland and I think it was Latvia, but certainly Finland are going to have a drone wall, or a wall of drones. If there was
a
ever
lot of YouTubers have that, they have it up behind them on the wall. All the drones.
They do, yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they exactly do. They exactly do.
And I can honestly say that I do know that those in power here in Finland are using Chinese drones. They are using Chinese drones, but they're using open source Chinese drones, because at least with open source Chinese drones, they have the ability to see what's going in and out, and can make changes to the software that they need. So Chinese drones are not an issue here when it comes to building a wall.
But that speaks to Kevin's comment there, doesn't it? Get the SDK without that. That speaks to all that. And it is, a lot of this is well above my pay grade. I don't really understand it. Ian will understand it better than me. This series has been way too serious. Not one mention of Space 1999. Well, before we go, let's make sure we change that. Tell me, before we go, what other news has anyone seen that we want to talk about?
Well, I could tell you a bit about the ICO as well. I made a complaint on Thursday, and you've seen it, Gary, for it's quite a long one, to the ICO against the DFT, because the DFT, the data's vanishing, and they've said as much themselves that it's possibly been deleted, but it's information that they knew, because I'd requested it. The way it happens with the DFT, if you say, can I see these emails, they'll just say, it takes too much time, it costs too much money. No, you're not seeing them, because that's one easy get out with the Freedom of Information Act, unfortunately. So what I do is I say, can I just have the email titles, and can I just have the date and the period, and maybe give some search criteria? And then I will see from the titles, well, that looks interesting, that one does, that one does, can I see them? So I requested stuff, and we mentioned this before, that where the search criteria was anything that might bring up an email where cyber matters were discussed in an aviation context within Gatwick. And it brought up 192 emails. And then I just said, I only asked for about 3 or 4, and they've already vanished. So, and this isn't the first thing. Obviously, we've talked in the past, the Gatwick video and the photo, they denied that there was ever those. And then it was the DFT that sent that out to the other partner agencies. It's just very, very suspect that you've got all this data that's missing. So I've made a detailed complaint about that. Also, some of the behavior. I've even thought of more behavior since from doing the complaint. But the stuff like they tried to blacklist me and stop me using the Freedom of Information, which actually is unlawful. You can't actually block a person as vexatious. You can only do a particular request, which might have never been anyway.
Okay.
But
I think we thought that you could, didn't we? I think we worked out that you could be.
Yeah, we were doing. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because if someone's trying to do that of the government department like DFT, you think they've got the power to do that. The ICO stepped in and said, what do you think you're playing at? So there's just been a long history of them, acting in a way that's contrary to the spirit of the Freedom of Information at very least. So on the Gatwick 2018 page that's on the AirProx reality check website. I've done a lot of updates on there. So there's the details of the legal cases that have been going on. There's details of every email that's become aware of it that's vanished is going to be listed on there. Every piece of bad behaviour by any authority is going to be put on there. Any authority that's sanctioned by the ICO involved, that's been involved in Gatwick, is going to be detailed on there with links to the documents. So everything's going to be on there, because there's been the benefit all along with all this messing about that it's all just on the what do they know website and just in my head, and it's not seen out publicly. And I think if someone sees all that's going on, you think, wait a minute, this is just ridiculous. You know, it's not professional. If you're maintaining there was a drone there, just act professional, put the information out there and prove it. And if there wasn't, also, it's about time people started owning up. And it's obviously in the UK now, we're just seeing with the infected blood inquiry and with the post office, just how bad things are. It's right. It's just that entire thing around the public sector services that it's just this whole idea.
Stephen and Bruce were watching the post office thing, but my goodness me,
it's indeed.
The UK is so broken, it's not funny, and right now having an election is just almost laughable in a sense, because again, not wanting to get political, but who the hell do you vote for? Because who do you vote for to make things better?
Fire.
Yeah. I guess the positive out there, but at least with Labour, they did introduce the Freedom of Information Act, so you would hope that they would have respect for it. And I guess it does no harm if there was a change of government, especially like with the Gatwick stuff, raising it and say, wait a minute, this has been going on, this is silly. And they've got no vested interest in the past.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt them to say they're not actually. Let's be a bit more straight about it, because it reflects on the previous, Conservative.
Well, who knows what happened?
Ian, sorry. Maybe just this is just a suggestion or whatever, but maybe you should identify as a police officer.
Identify as, yes, the modern parlance. What the young people do now. It's what the young people do.
If you just identify as a police officer, maybe that would help.
I feel like I've been identifying as a lawyer for about at least 6 months.
It would help if you were also transsexual.
Yeah.
This is endemic in all aspects of the civil service. This is why I've got this here, because my local council is threatening me with arrest because I've exposed their dishonesty. They don't say, we messed up, we told a lie, we apologise, move on. No. If you do this again, we'll arrest you. If you expose our lies and deceit again, we will arrest you. That's the attitude. It's like, don't fix up, cover up. And it goes everything from central government agencies, local government, the whole thing. It's like it's a culture, and it's bullying and cover up seems to be just the formula they use for everything.
Are we not going to reach a point very soon where most good people realize that and we start kicking up about it a little bit? Are we not reaching that point as a society? They're there to arrest him. It's happening live. Excellent. That's what we want. Go on, bang that green screen over. He's in prison.
He's been silenced.
I have put them up. There you go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We've got more music. It's lovely.
Oh my word. The whole idea of, yes, I mustn't go too far down there. Where's mine? There. Snap.
This is the technology show, people.
Yeah, have we stepped back in time or something, or what?
We have. Actually, I'm just looking on AliExpress for a new flip phone because I don't like this one. It's too advanced. It's got a camera. Look, it's got that massive camera there. Telephoto lens. Terrible.
Oh, really? Oh, no, you were right. This old original Nokia company, not the old Nokia,
you're lucky.
Not the new Nokia company.
The problem is most people don't give a damn. They've had their cynicism burnt out of them. they've been hammered down. Just trust the government, and the government will provide. It's the 1984 thing. It's just we're going to have to go a long way further before people actually do finally wake up. Only once they find themselves starving in the streets and under the jackboots of government or whatever it is. So many people are still just too busy, too concerned with trying to find enough money to pay the mortgage and to feed the kids.
It's very much so now, isn't it? Very, very much so. Look, this is very jolly. We've gone over the hour. It's an hour and 8. So we better. What other news before we go? Any other news? Going once, going twice.
Well, I'm going to give you some camera news if nobody has any drone.
Oh, go on then. Go on. Here we go. Right. Okay. I'm just pulling up a sandbag.
Yeah, there's a big kickoff on YouTube at the minute, which is worth watching because we have this culture of camera reviews where people are given the gear, it's sent out.
360.
You go, well, I'm not being biased at all because I'm not being paid for the review. But then there's like £5,000 worth of gear that's landed in the lap, and it's like, wait a minute. Does that slightly bias you a bit? Yes, it does. So there's a reviewer called Gerald Undone. A lot of people watch him think, oh, it's great. I'm not particularly a fan because he reviewed some aperture lights and said they have all these features. Turns out, no, they didn't. It wasn't actually in the software until after release. And when it's after release, it was like a year after the release. It was absolute ridiculous. And I'd spoken to the development team, directly on Facebook, did a private message, and they knew themselves this software wasn't coming out on time. So the marketing just weren't honest about it. And that just thought, I'm not, I don't like playing those games. If I'm shown this has got this feature, you're going to go out and buy it. You'd expect those, from the off. So, but anyway, yeah, he's had a big, it's kind of kicked off a big Barney on YouTube because Lumix, which is the camera division of Panasonic, brought out a new camera called the S9, and they sent it out to a load of YouTubers and people around the scene and said the tickets to Japan to go and test the camera. So you went over there, you did it, you did your review, and he wasn't invited. And he's like, well, I mustn't have been invited because I was negative about a camera in the past, when actually I don't think that was the case. This camera was basically made for people who aren't computer literate. So it does the editing and all that. It's basically, it'll only do 15-minute clips. It does the editing in the camera, passes it to an app. The idea is it's a replacement for doing your Instagram for your phone. You just get better quality. And so I don't think they really wanted your sort of technical, normal camera reviewers, because what that happens with those is they go, well, this is a bit rubbish because it doesn't do all this stuff that I'm used to when I'm editing. It's like, but yeah, it's not meant to. It's meant to be this entry-level camera. But he got on to, his view was it's been done because I haven't been positive enough about the brand, and you're just burning me kind of thing. So, and then he's basically, the insinuation was that everyone else that was doing the reviews and being positive about it were all effectively bought off. But I think everyone in that game's a hypocrite, because the only reason the channels have any traction is because they get the stuff when it first comes out. So when the manufacturers stop giving the stuff when it first comes out, their channel's worthless. It vanish. So really, the manufacturers are doing them a favor by sending them out in the first place. So there's that incentive there because it's getting you the views and it's keeping your channel alive. And there's also that that value of the gear. If you've been sent that and you can keep it, you can stick that on eBay, and it's essentially that is still payment. So no one could say. There would even be unconscious bias. If I get sent something, and I have in the past, I've got stuff sent out, and I've never done a review like that. If I've been sent it, I've just done I've gone out and done a proper video with it. So, I find a local band and say, do you want a video doing video for free? That goes out, put it out. People can judge it themselves. It goes out, it'd go out without comments. I wouldn't say this is great or it's rubbish or that. Say this is what I've produced with it. Judge yourself whether you like the look of it or not. And that's kind of to me, that's a bit more honest way of going about things. And I also think you're doing a bit of good for your local community as well if you're going to go out and do videos for people. And
Sure.
That kind of thing. But we don't see that. And I remember, and a lot of people criticised him at the time, but there was a British reviewer that was always on Vimeo, Philip Bloom.
Wow,
and
long time ago.
And so, but when you see what he did compared to now, it's like, even people, but they were criticising now. It's like it's miles better for the fact that he actually got the gear and he went out and shot something with it. So
content. But that's how, if someone buys something and they use it, they understand the value of that product, and when they use it and when they show how it can work and they show it in real life. And again, it's all about value. I think that when someone is sent, and I must admit, I know all these guys who do all these reviews. I never watch them. I never give them any time because I don't respect the reviews by being given something in order for you to give the review, even if that product is good or not. I mean, whether it's a camera or a drone or whatever, or if it's a 360, if you buy it and you use it, you understand the value of that. So therefore, you have a much better way to inform your audience, and your audience will want to know the value and how much that will be for it, and that is the reviews that should matter more. I do actually agree with you on that. People giving stuff and say, can you review it? Yeah, of course, anyone can do that and say it's great because they didn't pay for it. But if you pay for it, you understand, and if you know it's good, that's when the and I always say the V word is the most important thing when it comes to products and when it comes to any service. It's always value, and you never get that with anyone that gets something for free.
Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. I mean, at the same time, I don't mind people when they get stuff for free if they just go out still and shoot something with it. So there's a little bit of potential bias there because they've been giving it for free. Mm-hmm. But even with that in mind, if you see what they shot with and you think, actually, that's really good, fair enough. You've seen the product, but a lot of it these days is they're just filming themselves with it, going around the garden, filming the cat. So you can't really judge out, you don't really know how good something is unless you're going out and using it for a job. And if if halfway through it does something unexpected and messes that up for you, you're really going to know about it, and you're not going to get that from these. And the thing that frustrates me with this as well, this really bugs me. Well, two things that really bug me, so I'll go from both. One is the thumbnails. There's always an amazed face, so it's always product. It's that thing. Hey,
maybe it's a hat reversed. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Get with the hip kids. Get with the hip kids, mate.
If I see a thumbnail with that, I ain't watching the video. It's a principle now. I ain't getting watched.
But that's the way YouTube's gone. It's the way the beast has evolved. And
I mean, look, I made this video. DJI sent me the FPV drone, and I had to be totally honest. The 10 reasons you shouldn't buy one. I've never had anything else from DJI, but
funny that, isn't it? Funny that.
I don't play the game. I value my integrity over and above the free stuff thing.
I will tell you what, Bruce, though, because you are doing one clickbait thing there as well. It is a clickbait thing of saying don't buy this drone because of this. That
10 reasons not to buy it.
That in itself is because a lot of people do that now to get more views. To get more views, say don't buy something, do buy it. Because people want to tell you not to buy
it. I tell you what, Bruce. I tell you what, you are inspiring.
Oh, thank you, man. Oh, I'm a trendsetter. But it's interesting because when the DJI drone came out,
where have you all gone?
When that drone came out, everyone that got free ones was saying, "Oh, it's fantastic! It's got all these auto stop features and all sort of crap." And I said, "But no, it's a fragile piece of crap." And then a year later, everyone else is saying, "Oh, it was a potato. It's terrible," because they wouldn't say it at the time because they wanted more free stuff. I wasn't going to fall for that.
But it's a potato. It's a baked potato.
Baked potato. That's the
advantage.
The luxury one's got cheese and beans on it as well. If you really want the proper job, funny enough, there's an Avata 2 coming our way. to be used for
Is there?
for my mate to make videos about the life of a surveyor. It's like, well, how are we going to do that? It's like, so yeah, we get to play with the thing, but reviews and all that. Ian's often mentioning the dodgy reviews that he sees and things. It's just the way of the beast, isn't it? And yeah,
it's evolved. You know, that, like I say, it used to be in-depth review. Oh yeah, and this was, I wanted to get a second point that really bugged me as well. And this
we're giving one more point. We're not going to go past half past. Go on then.
But this is the rant, Gary. This is rant.
You're doing a camera review, right? The basic thing you should be able to do with a camera review is get through a sentence without a cut. And yet, these people that are reviewing it and they're going, it's cinematic, it's this. There's literally the jittering around the screen because every few words they've done a cut and another cut.
Jump cuts. That's what you do. That's the YouTube style.
Yeah, you got to do that as well every time.
Some good video editing software. Yeah, but video editing software has a function that removes silence. So you just press the button and all the little pauses are taken out and it's all bing, 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 because that's what the young people like. Like Gary, he likes that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, with this, a lot of these people that genuinely don't know the stuff, this is one indicator. You see a lot more in their videos versus somebody that really knows. So someone that really knows, when they're editing their own videos, it would be bugging them. They'd be thinking, I can't be doing this. And they would, they would do a retake, or they'd write it down and they'd have an auto cue or something. But yeah. So
that's your production head on, isn't it? That's your. So why on earth do you come and join us on this chat with our high production values?
I bet your text messages include vowels.
I don't think he's got chickens. I don't think he's allowed wildfowl where he lives.
No, you won't be it'll have punctuation, apostrophes, vowels, the whole thing when you write a text.
And Bruce, I get the smileys right. You're on Twitter. You're still doing them wrong.
Why?
You need to remember there's the correct characters. You're doing the wrong practice on a keyboard.
No, I'll just do LOL now.
Yeah, it's the Kiwi ones. The Kiwi ones.
Sorry. Can I just slightly change the subject here? Just ever
Go on,
so.
then.
Please.
Where's Mark?
We've lost him.
I've been on for a while. He's been doing live shows.
Has he gone?
I think he left about 45 minutes ago and he never came back.
He's been on today, has he?
Yeah. He's been overseas. Oh God, was he here? Was he here at all? Did we all dream? Is it the dream scene? Did the whole screen start shaking? Yeah. No, he was here. He's going off to make more of his late show drones. He's been busy, but yeah, he was here briefly. Yes.
Did he mention anything about there's been some tomfoolery of somebody trying to report somebody that was trying to do a drone show?
He mentioned something. He mentioned something a few days ago about this, about someone. I don't know if it was in the country that he sold something to, or it was just EASA, but someone said you can't do that, which is absolute bollocks. I would like to talk to him more about that privately, but from a legislation point of view, no one has the right to say that, because if you have the right, if you have the permissions from EASA and all the rest of it, then I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's all the backstabbing that's beginning to happen, and the niggling is a sign that the industry is going through teething or growing pains, and same with anything. There's an awful lot of people out there just scraping along.
I've never experienced backstabbing in Europe. In fact, most of the European companies that do drone light shows here, I've been talking to, and they are, let's say, generally very supportive, or looking for help, or just wanted to have a chat, because I do openly think that these these companies should talk with each other. That we should be talking more with each other, because we need to, I understand what problems that each of us have in order to try to make things better. Yes, of course, some of us are rivals. I do understand that, but at the end of the day, I think that we can help each other. If some can do shows and someone have to give shows off, that does happen, and you want some companies to do some designs for you and stuff. But this, I've never had any backstabbing. I've never experienced that in the fight.
Well, I was talking a bit more broadly than just the light show industry. I think there's a lot of niggling amongst surveying companies and things like that.
I've never experienced that here either, because we do surveying, we do we do inspections, we do consultations. And I've honestly and actually here in Finland, I think I'm not sure if I've said this before, but we even have a WhatsApp group in Finland here with all the companies. So all the companies have a WhatsApp group, and we share information. We, some guys have problems or we have issues, just want to have a general talk about certain things, and we share that with each other, and no one has anything to hide. But we never have backstabbing. I've never, in this country that I'm in right now, I've never had any backstabbing in the drone light shows that we've been doing all over Europe. I've never had any backstabbing. I see it a lot in the UK. I see it a lot on social media. Okay. I hear a lot of it. But yeah.
I think what Mark was the impression I got from the way it was written was he was saying he thought the industry got over that, and then this had cropped up. So. Because you see, these days there is quite a lot of cooperation, and that commercial operators will get someone to white label for them, or they might not have a particular. Some people will be into video, some will be into surveys, and that. And sometimes you'll get a job that doesn't fit you, and you'll get someone else doing. Everyone, plays pretty nicely with that. So I think that's what people were getting more used to. And then he wasn't specific enough, but the impression that was in my mind, it was somebody that probably wasn't in light shows, seeing somebody else step up to doing that, and then trying to say, "Oh, we'll report you shouldn't be doing that," without realizing that they had the right permissions and they were doing it, in the correct way. I think it was probably just an assumption. I mean, where there are assumptions, you get less of it these days. Is obviously you look at people's videos and trying. It used to be worse before than it is now, because everyone was like, are you breaking the rules or aren't you? Especially when it was commercial and the hobbyist and it was all a bit separate, but like, are you overstepping the line? And now, given there isn't the commercial thing, there isn't so much of that, because it's like, well, you might be in the rules or you might not be, and it's people generally just let the people get on with it, because if you spend your time just getting upset about what other people are doing, you're just going to wind yourself up. You're just best off. I think
when you start to get upset with people who are, or they think that they're breaking the law or they're breaking the regulations, and not understanding what is actually going on in the sector, because we do know, and I'll say this very openly, that we do know that there are those out there that are not, that are flying light shows and not having permission. We've heard this, we've seen this, we do know this actually goes on, and it's very serious. So to make accusations about people that have the permissions against people that are knowingly doing it without, it is quite sad.
Yeah. Well, as we've discussed before, these days you don't even have to have people without the permissions now. They just make up a light show in CG, pretend it happened.
Oh, don't start us on that.
Yes, don't, because we are rushing headlong at 1:30. A minute and a half, and tradition shows me that that's probably not enough time to get it done. But, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. We'll see you again, hopefully next week, with the guys from Brink. And, I'll have to bring a hat and reverse it. The guys from Brink to tell us about their machine. We'll say Mr. Tickle or something like that. Very good. Look after yourselves wherever you are. We'll see you next week. 2100 gin and tonic. Cheers, everyone. Look after yourselves. There's one button there and one there. Bye-bye. See you.